Why hello there beautiful people and welcome to OTT. Now, Project Cars has taken a lot of stick and a lot of slack over the last couple of months since it got released, and it's taken me quite a while to adjust to the game and settle in. And I just want to go through my experience of how I've adjusted to the game and what experience I've had with it. I'll give you a bit of my background just so you understand where I've come from, and maybe you might be able to relate to it, and it might help solve a few answers, well, to a few questions you might have for Project Cars. Now, there is one other reason why I'm doing this video. It's because I feel that people that recommended this game and that recommended Project Cars and that did reviews on it kind of dropped the ball on one quite big important thing, which I need to address now. And I do need to say sorry, because a part of the recommendations were from me. I recommended the game, but I forgot to take into consideration the gamers that you're recommending it to. You have to take that into mind, and that's the biggest issue. The biggest issue is said people didn't, in their reviews and in the recommendations, including me, quite get just how much of a simulator it is and how big of a jump it is from games like Gran Turismo and other so-called simulators. Now, I know I beat that fucking thing all the time about Gran Turismo not being a real simulator. It really isn't. I'm afraid to break that. I'm sorry if you're in denial about it, but it's somewhere in between, if that makes you feel better. It's trying to be a simulator, but it's too casual to be a simulator. It just hasn't got the depth to it. And the main point is, Project Cars got a lot of flack, mainly from gamers that came from a similar background to me. Now, my background in car games, I started off when I was around 10 years old. I'm just going to guess that, somewhere around there, on games like Need for Speed, so arcade driving games. And then a few years on after that, I got into games like Gran Turismo, which is definitely a step up from a full-out arcade driving game. It's definitely not, you wouldn't call it arcade, but you wouldn't call it simulator. Arcade, what's the in-between? Arcade-simulator? I don't know, whatever. And then there's games like Project Cars. Now, you gotta understand that I'm coming from a console background. I'm starting to get into PC gaming once again, but I'm mainly talking about console driving games here. When it comes to console, we don't have much of choice when it comes in simulators. You might think Gran Turismo is one of the choices, but it isn't. It really isn't. If you've played Gran Turismo and you play Project Cars, you'll see night and day. Because Gran Turismo, you can jump in and just go, and it's all very easy. It's very accessible. Project Cars is definitely the opposite of that. I'm going to borrow a very good quote here from somebody I was speaking to the other day. I think it was the special guest we're having an upcoming interview about this topic, about simulators. Project Cars is a game that doesn't work unless you make it work. Now, the game runs, it's not buggy or crashy. Well, every game has bugs, but you know what I mean. It's not a broken game or anything like that. It's just, that's what a simulator is. You have to put the effort in from every point of view. Like, you have to put the effort in with getting your control set up or your steering wheel set up. And when I say about, like, for example, getting your controller set up, if you've seen the video I did on it, you can see all the different settings you have for it. It's quite mind-boggling. It takes a while to get it set up to just how you want it. It's taken me months to get me where I am, and I'll touch upon that in a minute. Like, you have on the controller setup, you have throttle dead zones, steering dead zones, sensitivity, speed sensitivity. It's just so much to worry about, and then you've got to worry about the cars. Not all cars are great on all tracks. Some, even when they come stock setup, are quite terrible. And one of the cars doesn't even have brakes that work unless you bloody tune them to work. So it's a game you have to put the effort in. You really do. It takes, I mean, I've been playing it for over 6 months now, or whatever it is, a very long time when it comes to gaming. And I've only just started to really sink and settle and, you know, get into the game, really get into the rhythm of it. It's so intense compared to games like Gran Turismo. Now, that's, and also when I first started, it was very daunting, because it's just so, it's a different world from Gran Turismo, from where I came from previously to that. And I feel that a lot of people that made the same jump that I did, that went from Gran Turismo to Project Cars, weren't really ready for just what a real simulator is. A real simulator is demanding. And a lot of people got angry at Project Cars because of that. And I spent quite a while trying to defend it, but I wasn't quite sure what the reasoning was why people were actually so angry at it. I mean, the game wasn't running all that well when it first came out. Some of the cars setups were a bit iffy, but it all got patched and it all got fixed within rather quick time. That's one thing you got to praise SMS Studios for. Sorry, I've been working flat out. It's Christmas Eve, and yes. And unfortunately, I think I finally clicked why people were getting frustrated. Not just because of how hard it is compared to coming from something like Gran Turismo, for example. Is that they just didn't understand that the game wasn't for them. Maybe they just didn't know it wasn't for them until they tried it. Because like I said, with console, this is the first real experience I've ever had in my life to play a real simulator on console. And it's a massive different leap. One massive leap for Raccoon kind. It's huge. And people got frustrated, really bad at it, and really going at Project Cars for that. And I just want to make this very clear. When I refer to this subject and I say stuff like Project Cars is really only if you're a hardcore driving fan and you're really willing to try it. And a lot of people think they are that, mainly because Gran Turismo doesn't help in that situation, because it calls itself a full-out, the real driving simulator. It can fuck off. It's a good game. It's not an arcade game, Gran Turismo, but it's not a full simulator by any stretch of the imagination. And that's kind of what fucks players up, because you believe you've been playing a simulator and it's not that hard, but then when you get into a fully fledged simulator, it's just a massive different world. And like I said, from me, I've come from the same background. I came from full arcade driving games as a kid to being now on a simulator, and it's taken me probably around 6 months or longer to get settled in with the game. Where Gran Turismo, you can do it in a single sitting. You can just sit down with an hour or two and you're off and away without much bother. Now that's a good thing for the game. I'm not taking it away from it. It's just saying that there are different types of players. There are different type of gamers. And a lot of us, console gamers, don't know whether we are really hardcore driving fans unless you've tried Project Cars and then you know where you lie, where you stand on that side of the border. For me, I was in the same boat. I thought, yeah, I can do a simulator. I mean, I've played Gran Turismo and I played Project Cars and my eyes were opened. And at times I did think about going back to games like Gran Turismo because it was so much easier, but there's no fun in that. You can either work for your reward, or you can just sit there and just play casual. I mean, there's a great thing that's been getting on my nerve recently. I know this is quite off topic, but people have been playing the Need for Speed game, the new one, the so-called reboot. Watching people stream it, reading out questions from chat, and managing to drift full-on 90-degree lock and all this shit. It practically auto-drifts. Games like, if you want to do stuff like that, you're a casual gamer. That's not an insult. I'm just stating the fact. I loved games like Burnout, for example. I had a lot of fun on them, but they're not. You're not really driving. You are and you're not. It's such a weird subject to try and describe. But anyone who's played Burnout and stuff like that will understand it. Like, to drift, you just turn both opposites to. I can't remember the exact way, but I haven't played it for years. It was last when I was on Xbox. I haven't been on Xbox for many years. And then when you actually try and drift in a real simulator, you realise you're in the ocean with sharks very quickly. It's like going from a little kiddie paddling pool with lifeguards and armbands, and then jumping into the sea with lead shoes on. It's fucking difficult. But if you can put the effort in, it's a massive reward at the end of it. I just want people to understand that. If you are a casual and you've tried Project Cars and you got frustrated at it and started slagging it off, saying, oh, the physics aren't good enough for you, or because if that is, I have actually heard people say that. Now, I didn't know how wrong that statement was, but from speaking to people that know a lot more about racing and the way mechanical and technical engineering works, and it's just utter bollocks. Project Cars have got it right. Whether you like it or not, they've got it right. And on console, it has to be praised. If you're having trouble with it, there are a lot of people helping in the Project Cars community. That's one thing I will say. The community of Project Cars is pretty outstanding. You do occasionally get the odd dick, but that's just how it goes, isn't it? I mean, that's the internet. Like, I was drifting in online. If you don't know, for people that might want to join, who've listened this far in, if you're a Project Cars player and you like drifting, I run a drift session, normally it lasts between an hour and a half or maybe 3 hours, every morning, normally every day of the week. It's normally between 9 and 12, 9 a.m. till noon, British time, GMT, BST. So if you're ever looking for me, just look for OTT Gamers, you'll find me. Come in, say hi, and maybe we'll have a little bit of drifty fun. And yeah, and literally I had one guy in one of those sessions just whacking into the side of me in a fucking go-kart, in a shifter cart, just every time I went into a corner, on purpose, there was no doubt about it. Wanker. If that's if he's watching, I doubt he is, because if he was a fan, why would he ram me? Because you're an ass. Yeah. So don't be shy of being a casual. Like, I enjoy casual driving games from time to time, but I've gone so far from those types of games to now where I'm on Project Cars, I just can't really look back. The only way I'd play another driving game is just to have fun, just like a casual as casual gets, like Burnout, because it's just a laugh. And if you're going to try and play a car game to be serious, and you really do believe you're hardcore, give Project Cars a go. Don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of sucking at it. Don't be afraid of that. I still make fucking mistakes all the time. And it's embarrassing. You know, when you're in an online session, you go into a corner, you're drifting, you come out, the weight balance just kicks out slightly sooner than you predict it, or something along those lines, and then you just spin out the opposite way. It's still fucking embarrassing. It doesn't happen as often now because I'm getting better at it, but yeah, put the effort in. You will love it, but do understand you do need to take into consideration, is that what's really your type of game? Don't be afraid that it's not. You're still a car fan, you're still a gamer, there's nothing to be ashamed of. It's just that if you want to try out the hardcore sector, Project Cars is definitely where you want to look on console. Obviously on PC it's a bit of a different story, and on console we're supposed to get Assetto Corsa in 2016, which should be interesting. From what I've heard about that game is nothing but good stuff, so when that comes out it should be quite a nice situation on console for a change. And hopefully Project Cars has got a bit of a head start on it, so hopefully it can keep up with Assetto Corsa, because Assetto Corsa does sound good. But for now, Project Cars is a great game. I don't see myself abandoning it, even when Assetto Corsa does come out, because I've worked so hard at it that I want to keep going. It's really rewarding at this stage. Like I said, I'm about 6 months in, maybe a bit longer. I've put in a lot of hours and a lot of effort, and it's slowly paid off, and now it's really starting to pay off. It's coming in leaps and bounds. Once you figure out a few tricks and a few things about the game, you're off and away. And I hope you can enjoy it. If you've tried it and you didn't enjoy it, I want to apologise. Mainly if I recommended it, because I probably should have understood just how big of a leap it was from other driving games on console right now. It's definitely a big leap from games like bloody Drive Club and Clue. Clue? God damn it, can't you tell I've been working too hard? Crew! God damn it, the one by Ubisoft. Anyway, I've got a lot more videos to get on with. It's Christmas Eve and I've got so much shit to do. It's been a pleasure as always, and hopefully see you on Project Cars, and hopefully you enjoyed the upcoming interview with a lovely special guest. I love you as always. I'll see you next video. For now, goodbye.